Good morning, welcome to today's Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday the 31st of March. Before I get on and look at the technicals, let's just look at the news events occurring today. And there's lots and lots of minor stuff kicking out there. We've already seen the final GDP. Now this is the quarter-on-quarter figure, which is more significant for the UK. That is, that came in at 1.3 versus 1. Now, being a final figure, generally you don't see so much movement. It's normally the advanced figures that sort of create the movement, or the primary even. But this is a bit of a surprise sitting there on that GDP number, being more than a better forecast. But we'll watch and see what happened on that. Anyway, aside of that, today the only thing I'm looking at there is and I refer to it as being as useful as a chocolate teapot, is the ADP non-farm figures, because they just don't seem to get much in the way of viewings. They're often so far adrift from the non-farms that come out on Friday, but we'll see. People are looking at employment much more in the US at the moment, and the figures are starting to come under the microscope, and I think we'll see if we get more action off of that. Side of that, Canadian GDP, it's a monthly figure that never really creates too much volatility. And we've got pending home sales, crude oil inventories, so very little. Crude oil inventories might do something later. Okay, so let's have a look at that's for oil, of course. Let's have a look at these markets then. Euro dollar. Well, the euro yesterday really just fell through the floor there, rolled over eventually. Looks almost better than it was. For long periods we've been just seeing this consolidated price action on the euro, and yesterday, well, it for a long time it had one sort of decent move there, and then just sort of bounced, and then just consolidation. It's very difficult at the moment to get much in the way of movement out of this. At the moment we've got a bit of a bounce. We're just looking at the higher time frames. It's into its weekly 50. There is also a yearly pivot, I was told this morning. There we go, sitting across there, so it could get a bit of a support and a bit of a confluence there. We'll see how it is. It's had a solid old sell-off, and when a market gets sold quite so far, and I'm sort of looking at this sort of three-wave movement here on the 4 hours, you just think, well, perhaps we maybe get a bit of a correction technically, and just purely on a technical basis. Fundamentally, I think the eurozone still got quite a lot of flaws there, and the vaccine rollout, the lockdown, it's all sort of against the euro at the moment. Bullish engulfing at the moment on this 60-minute. Bit of correction, a bit of follow through, certainly possible. I'm really looking for areas from here where to sell into. Now we've got the 34 with the daily pivot there. It pushes through into that. It's a possibility, or maybe back into that 50. We'll see how it runs this morning, but I'd rather be on the downside on the euro. The pound. Okay, so the pound, I mean, bigger picture here, lower highs. It's not seeing much of a reaction to that news this morning by looks of things, but it does look quite bearish on the dailies here. It's much more choppy on the 4 hours as to sort of come through the time frames, and you just sort of try and make head or tail of this. Again, a bullish engulfing candle sort of sitting there at the moment on it. I don't know, it hasn't closed yet, but quite a bullish candle that. And again, if we see a break of the highs of that could see a correction. Well, we're already through the daily pivot, maybe the R1. I'm sort of looking at this nest of resistance sitting there at 37.81 potential. Not really been looking for these markets for the long side for a while, but it may be time that we do, just see if we can catch a bit of the upside movement. Dolly Yen, well, it surprised me. I had a position on this, and it's gone through my targets through the Asian session. Now it's around about 110.50. I was looking for a corrected target. Actually, I pushed it up a bit more to where it was. It's looking particularly strong. It's coming back to these prior high bodies now, and we'll see if we get some sort of resistance off that. It may be being a little bit overdone where it is. Effectively, it's had such a strong move up there. We could be getting towards the end of this move, a shift at least. As I say, it's had a solid old sort of shove up. And I'm wondering now whether it's sort of, again, it's another one of these markets, and it looks across all three so far that we've got to a sort of situation where, okay, could be that's it for now, but the dollar is seeming so strong. The US dollar seems so strong, and it's certainly proving the case here. But okay, we had flows moving out of the yen and the Swissy on the basis of going into other currencies, moving away from that sort of safety risk off sort of situation, and well, you may just get a bit of a correction on these, but I'm sort of looking here, daily pivots below. It's again got a sort of bearish sort of outside candle. Looks like we might see some follow through on these. Aussie dollar, again, looks weak on this time frame. It's another one of these that sort of it's again put a bearish engulfing bar through there yesterday. Hasn't hit the bottom of that, so it's not really triggering that sort of move, but does look a bit on the softer side. Just looking through the smaller time frames here, well, again on the shorter time frame here, the 60-minute is bullish engulfing. So the same old story through all these markets, and I do wonder, as I said, whether the dollar will soften up a little bit more and we'll get a bit more upside in some of these markets today. Due a day up, it looks. Canadian dollar, briefly here, more so looking from a daily perspective on the Canadian dollar, run into its daily 50 again. It's had so many attempts at that. Just seeing a bit of a sort of a move away from that at the moment. Nothing really obvious here apart from the weekly pivot still untouched. If this was to start getting a wiggle on, that would be a nice target. But once again, you get down to this hourly point of view, and you've got these sort of big engulfing candles, and certainly some movement sitting in there. So maybe we've got more of a correction, even if it's just back to this sort of trend line that's coming up here, or it's down, back to its daily S1 sort of area. But certainly it looks like there's potential in some of these. Euro yen, just briefly looking at this, I mean, it's been flying up on the dailies well, say flying up, but it's been moving up pretty well over this week and from last week. Now with the yen stifling a little bit here, maybe we'll see this. I mean, right into its daily R3 already. It may just slow down here. So nothing immediately there for me. Okay, looking at further adrift, the gold had been taking a hell of a correction here, and there you go, it's followed through yesterday pretty much as expected, back to those prior lows. Now we may get some more support coming through from here now. Already is a sort of this quite bullish candle sitting there on the 4-hourly, and daily pivot above that could be running back towards that. It's just looking a little bit more like it's got some chance. Now again, the very fact that it's running across all these markets, this sort of little bit of dollar, I say dollar weakness, but the dollar being pushed back a little bit might see some strength through some of these other markets. Oil, regardless of the massive build-up of numbers, etc., it seems to do no wrong, and it's catching the well, seems to be looking like it's catching a bounce off the weekly pivot again at this stage. And I don't know, with the higher low that came through here, it's not broken that at the moment. Maybe it's got further upside to be had. We do have the OPEC meeting tomorrow, but might put pay to it, but before then, looking at it at the moment, it's still looking a tad on the bullish side in the short term. Okay, S&Ps, he says, get the right one. Yep, got the right one. So S&P just consolidating again where they're sitting. No surprises. we'll get market doing this. If it was to have a bigger correction, I would even expect a longer period of consolidation. But looking at it here, really a bit of a wedge pattern sitting there on the 4-hourlies, and very tight movements here. But we could get some half decent movements pushing out of this. But my preference would be to the upside, just purely on the previous move there. But it's a throw of a coin almost there, the way it's sitting at the moment. Okay, last but not least, there the Bitcoin just come out again yesterday. Saw some follow through of that movement, and we're seeing on the other cryptos I look at there, the Ripple's well, had a bit of a dip earlier this morning, but it's pitched back up again, and Ethereum is just continuing its sort of slow but steady sort of shift to the upside, and it looks like there's more in that yet as well. So a lot of these getting back towards their previous highs there at the moment. So all looking good for crypto. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. I'm going to wish you a great day, and I will speak to you tomorrow. Bye for now. Just not much going on at all, is there?